You might be able to hear, as I speak, a rather loud banging sound.
You'll be pleased to know you're quite popular.
Has acquired, it seems, the flat underneath the embassy and are busy tunnelling, believe it or not, right at this moment. We actually tried to buy the flat underneath to expand the embassy, but it was blocked, rather mysteriously. So first of all, I'd like to thank Glenn for an excellent presentation, and I'm very pleased Edward could make it. I know there were quite some difficulties actually getting him on technically, so I'm pleased that all came to fruition finally. But I thought we should put things in a bit of context, because a lot of detail has been gone into tonight, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes we lose our way in seeing what sort of society that we're evolving into and how this development has come about. First of all, New Zealand has a very important historical contribution to the understanding of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance and mass surveillance. In fact, really, like many other things that happened in the like many other things that happened that happened in the world, New Zealanders were there first, and Nikki Hager was in fact a great New Zealand journalist who's become back in the 1990s, Secret Power, which exposed National Security Agency and GCSB activities as they were then in the 1990s. And subsequently, of course, Australians like me have been taking the credit for this groundbreaking work that Nikki has done. New Zealand is part of the Five Eyes Alliance, and it's easy to become confused as to what that means. The Five Eyes Alliance is not an alliance of nations. It's not an alliance of Christian English-speaking nations of the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and the United Kingdom. It is an alliance of intelligence agencies operating within those five nations. Now, it's often presented as if those five nations have come together and decided they want to engage in mass surveillance of the rest of the world in order to empower their citizens the most, geopolitically and in terms of terrorism and foreign intelligence. But in fact, because, as Edward and Glenn have said, there has not been informed consent by those five nations, it is insiders from within the deep state, as we would call it in political science, collaborating with each other to maximize their own power in this equation. And while once we could have considered this significant but not a crucial matter that starts to affect the structure of society, that's no longer true. The level of mass surveillance, as it has increased over the past 10 years, is something that is now at the level where it must inevitably affect the structure of our society domestically and the structure of our international order. Glenn and Edward and others have revealed abuse after abuse and lies by John Key and others in that area. But if we look at simply the scale of the activity, we now have a situation where every single person who has access to the internet, which in New Zealand is essentially every single person, is being affected. Sometimes we think a claim about a general phenomena is a claim about the air or the sky, or the nature of our universe. And it is so general that we think we cannot be affected by it. It is a claim that seems that there's nothing we can do about it. You may recall that Stalin once said, perhaps apocryphally, that one man's death is a tragedy, but the death of a million men is a statistic. But I have been one of those people. I have been, and it's in the Edward Snowden documents, a target of the NSA on the NSA manhunting list. Wikileaks has been, as recently as 2012, a target of GCHQ, and it's in those same documents. Kim.com in New Zealand has been a target of GCSB unlawfully. And no doubt most of the people presenting on this panel tonight in the run-up to this presentation have been some kind of target. How do we know that we're targets? Well, we're specialists in this area. So we're able to understand and find out this information and see that we have been individually targeted. But for people who are not specialists, they rely on information that has come out as a result of journalists and as a result of people like Edward Snowden, and is spoken about in generalities. What New Zealand is doing, together with the other Five Eyes nations, is to attempt to create a new structure of civilization. And I don't think that New Zealanders agreed to take part in such a radical, extremist project of putting all the foreign, at least, telecommunications of New Zealanders under a mass surveillance regime which automatically collects information on every single person. I think that is an extreme, bizarre, Orwellian future that is being constructed secretly in New Zealand. And so you might say, why is New Zealand doing this? And can New Zealand have any influence? Well, I think New Zealand, as part of the Five Eyes Alliance, is seen as a junior partner in that alliance. But in fact, it has equal status to every other nation except that of the United States. People within GCSB have become addicted to that relationship with these bigger players. And so they're happy to sacrifice the rights of New Zealanders and move the society of New Zealand in a very strange direction in exchange for membership of this international intelligence agency club. It is a network of patronage that exists internationally and operates without proper oversight of government. Even in the United States, as Glenn has shown, there is no proper oversight. So, having looked at the development of the Five Eyes Alliance over that long period of time, and how governments actually behave in practice with our diplomatic cables work, I want to reiterate what Glenn has talked about, specifically in relation to John Key, that this is how things are done at this level. It is all backroom deals about how to construct laws, the place of intelligence agencies and international alliances between intelligence agencies, not between countries, in the construction of those laws, how to subvert monitoring of the behaviour of intelligence agencies and their functions. New Zealand historically has shown significant will to be a more independent state. Despite its size, it is an island nation. It is able to have its own political culture, and that political culture resulted, for example, in the banning of nuclear weapons and nuclear-powered warships coming to Australia. The National Security Agency was used as a vehicle to take revenge against New Zealand, to coerce New Zealand into coming back into the acceptance of nuclear power in New Zealand by cutting off the flow of information to GCSB, or claims of doing that. But as some of you might remember, Nikki Hager showed that, in fact, that secret flow and access to this old boys club of intelligence agencies continued in the background. So we have a bizarre example there that even the desire to punish New Zealand for its nuclear stance was subverted by these very intelligence agencies. So they will subvert the democratic will in relation to mass surveillance, and they'll even subvert attempts by US authorities operating in a different dimension, namely anti-nuclear policy, to punish the GCSB. Covert intelligence agencies, by definition, are designed to operate outside proper scrutiny and outside the law. And so they cannot be trusted. And the people who get into bed with them in any significant way also cannot be trusted.